SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone, welcome back to NPTEL online certification course on research methodology for planning and architectural studies. In part 1 we have discussed about the importance of measurement scaling, how it is going to help us for collecting our information in the way that we want, and then we can interpret it to bring out the useful findings. In that also we have seen certain sort of measurement like reliability or validity of the scale, and also we discussed about the errors, common errors through instrument, through respondent, or maybe by the interviewer or the surveyor. And also in that case we lastly discussed about commonly used measurement scale like nominal, where it is just about category, then ordinal which is showing some sort of rank order, then interval and ratio, and their utilization with examples. Hope you have gone through that and you understood those examples and the overall concept. With that, today in this particular lecture we will extend that discussion with certain examples and then commonly used measurement and scaling tools that we include in our questionnaire in planning and architecture. I will also try to give examples from architecture and planning side so that you can understand it in a better way. So let us start our lecture number 18, which is titled as Measurement and Scaling Technique 2. What we are going to learn from this particular lecture? So in this particular case we are going to understand again the scaling techniques that already we have discussed. Then we will discuss two type of scaling: comparative scaling, where comparison is something in interest of the researcher, and then non-comparative scaling, where we are not comparing but we just try to measure it, and then we summarize our findings. Now scaling technique can be broadly classified into two categories. One is conventional scaling and then unconventional scaling. So conventional scaling are used in the questionnaire format and it is most common, like probably you have also used it in some way or other in your past study or maybe in your earlier assignment. Comparative scaling techniques are normally in this case are used to compare among variables, and the other part of the conventional scaling is the non-comparative scaling. So in this case we are not comparing anything with two variables, it is a direct measurement. Whereas the unconventional scales are used for unconventional collection of data through different game, puzzle, etc. So nowadays apart from questionnaire also you can also get information from other source which is unconventional. So today's lecture will be focusing mostly on the conventional scaling and type of conventional scaling like the comparative scaling and non-comparative scaling tools. This particular slide, let us focus on it. So the conventional scaling techniques broadly classified into two. One is the comparative scaling, where comparison is something that we would like to make, and then non-comparative scaling as well. So under non-comparative scaling there are some established scaling tools. One is paired comparison, so where we take two variables at a time and try to compare. We can give something like this is better than this or this is preferred than this, and then like that we can compare. Next one is the rank order, where we assign a rank, like especially for the ordinal data we give a rank. So out of 5 that I preferred this, so I give this is rank 1 and I preferred this, like I least prefer this particular option. So, I can give the 5, the last possible value. It can be also a constant sum. So, where we are not giving any rank in that way, but we assign certain numerical value where the total value is giving some certain sort of unity, say 100, total sum is 100 and there are 4 items to be measured in this. So, whichever like I think that is the most preferred option. So, I give 40 and then I can give certain value 30 to the second one, then 20 to the third one and then remaining 10 to the fourth one. So, altogether from there also we can say the first one is rank 1, second is rank 2 because of the value. So, from this particular constant sum we can also find out the rank order. Even from pairwise comparison we can also derive the rank order at the end after the computational. Now, there is another type which is referred as a Q sort, where the sorting is done, where say maybe the items to be measured it's huge number. So, in such cases you cannot give those kind of rank. Say if there are 5 person, if I say that okay, if you know all of them their performance, you give a ranking possible, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you can do. But if I say that there are 100 such kind of performance, say maybe you are judging a particular competition and there are 100 participants and then if I ask you that give the rank. So, it is very tough and rank is not that we are not just asking to select first, second, third, you give rank to each and everybody. Is quite difficult in that way. Normally the way we do, we assign certain marks and then from marks we derive the ranking. But Q sort is something where we try to filter it out. Say for example that out of this 100, top performer who are like having certain performance score above 80, we group them, and then probably who are performing poorly we group them, and then we can make a comparison. So, the sorting is done. So, out of all item that to be measured, we just sort them in a different basket. Coming to non-comparative scaling, in this case again we can have the itemized rating scale where we can denote each item and its value, and then it can be the continuous rating where there are total scale is available and you can assign the value. So, Likert scale is one of them. So, I also mentioned about Likert scale earlier in my presentation, last lecture we have discussed it. So, again we can measure some kind of statement in terms of agreement to this question or disagreement to that particular statement. There might be some sort of semantic differential where we can have a range of values assigned, 1, 2 extreme values are defined and then we can have any value in between, or it may be staple where like there is no such kind of neutral value and we can measure it. So, anyway we will discuss each of them in our upcoming slides with examples so that it will be clear to you. Now, comparative scaling technique, it involves direct comparison of different objects. Comparative scale data are measured on ordinal scale because it is showing certain sort of rank order, the first, second, third like this. Even if you use some kind of sorting or you can use the constant sum, we can always convert it to the rank order. So, as I already mentioned in that flow chart, so we have these 4 types mostly used in this comparative scaling technique: paired comparison, rank order, constant sum and Q sort. Paired comparison. In paired comparison scale, the respondent is asked to select one object from the list of 2 options at a time on the basis of certain criteria, whether it is preferred or it is not preferred. So, in this particular paired comparison scale, the respondent is asked to select one object from the list of 2 options or object on certain sort of criteria. Say if I ask about the preference, that out of these two buildings which one would you like to visit first. So in such case the criteria is your willingness or your preference to visit, and then you compare this. Then something like, I can also go for multiple comparison, like in such cases, like I say that okay, from A and B you select one, so I prefer A, fine. So in that case, like I ask from B and C you select one, I say select B. So now if I ask a question that out of A and C which one is preferred, so in the logical sequence, as because A is preferred to B and B is preferred to C, so among A and C, obviously in such cases A should be preferred over C. It is used when the study requires to distinguish between two specific objects. If there are total n objects available to pick up, then number of paired comparison, the total comparison should be n multiplied by n minus 1 by 2. So in that case, if I have 3 objects, so possible 3 objects, say A, B and C, and if I like want to know the preferences and then go for this kind of paired comparison, so definitely the total combination will be, in this particular case, 3 into 3 minus 1 by 2. So then it is nothing but you have 3 into 2 by 2, so 3. So what are those? A, B, B, C and then C, A, fine. So if you increase the number, definitely this will be more. If you make it 4, then it will be 4 into 3, 12 by 2, so that will be 6. So this is something you can also compare it with the way, like the cricket match. In a group stage it is being fixed that each team should play with another at least once. So in such cases the total number of matches can be fixed in that way. The data obtained by this technique are ordinal in nature, definitely the order will get. Under the assumption of transitivity, it is possible to convert the paired comparison to the rank order. Let us understand with this example. So here it is something that you have travel destination Agra, Jaipur, Delhi and Goa. Now this is a comparison matrix. So when you say that Agra and Agra, so in diagonally it is having no preferences or value. But now suppose if you want to compare Jaipur and Agra, so Agra is preferred. So in such cases, if you complete this entire matrix, that in any cases when you compare Agra with Jaipur, Delhi and Goa, all the cases Agra is preferred. But when you compare Jaipur and Delhi, so in this case Jaipur is preferred, and in case of Goa it is preferred when you compare with Jaipur and Delhi, but Delhi is not preferred anywhere. So now total number of time preferred, so we have 3 times preference to Agra, then 2 times to Goa and then 1 time to Jaipur. So in this case if we try to order the preference of the users, so in that case definitely most preferred is Agra. So I can give the first rank, then next we have Goa, second rank, then you have this particular Jaipur, third, and then last but not the least Delhi as the fourth, because out of this nobody like preferred this. So maybe this is individual response or maybe this is a collective response. So normally this is the example of individual, because it may not be same that always each and everybody that you survey will give you the same thing. Somebody may also prefer that out of Jaipur and Delhi, I prefer Delhi. So in such cases definitely there should be more computational thing. So we have to convert those to a value and then we can do. Say for example, like later on we will discuss when we present the case study, like one very established tool like expert based, that AHP, analytical hierarchy process. So in that case also we go for a pairwise comparison and all, and finally we derive certain weight and then we can rank them. Hope this thing is clear to you, the paired comparison. Now coming to the rank order, in such cases definitely we have to just ask the respondent to rank their preferences. So there is no such kind of comparison between two variables, it is directly pinpointed. I am ranking this particular 4 tourist destination, where Agra in this particular case is rank 1, and then Delhi the 4th one, and then Jaipur 3rd, and then Goa 2. Why Goa 2? Because in the same example, if we say that Goa was preferred 2 times and Agra was preferred 3 times, in that way with the number of preference this can be ranked. But this is something that I am representing 2 cases of similar in nature to make it clear to you, but definitely this is something where you are not asking about the pairwise preferences among 2 places at a time. It is just you are giving 4 places and then you can go for collecting the rank. Now in this case let us understand one fundamental aspect. Suppose this is the ranking given by respondent 1. If you ask respondent 2, probably if the value may change, like this is 2, this is 1, this is 4, this is 3, it may possible because it is his or her preference. If you ask respondent 3, so in that case probably you get that this is 4, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Hypothetically I am taking. So in all such cases we are having different sort of ranking to those kind of preferred location. Now as because it is rank order and ordinal, we cannot take average of this rank. So rank we cannot average out. For that we need certain numerical value by which we can do. So in that case probably we have to change this, we have to give certain value. Suppose if it is 1, instead of that I ask that give a value from 0 to 100. So this is 90, this is probably 70, and this is some value, and then you take the average value and then you rank. So this is something different, but this is direct rank order. So there is challenges, and normally whenever you have more objects to give the rank, it will be very difficult because we cannot make the trade off. Up to 5, 6 is still okay, but more than that it will be very difficult. So in such cases we are going for something in rating rather than ranking. Now coming to the constant sum scale. So in this case a respondent is asked to allocate certain points out of a fixed sum of points for each object according to their importance or preference. Generally the total fixed points are 100 for simplicity. It can be 10, but the moment you reduce that value, it is sometimes very difficult to distinguish the point. If you increase it, instead of 100 you can make it 1000 or 10,000, then also there will be some sort of issue. So normally 100, it's something we can always see, talk about the percentile, think about percentile, we can do. So in this particular case what is happening, again Agra, so point is 35, here 30, again there is no such kind of correlation between these values and then the rank order or the pairwise thing. It is just something in order to give you the example of the same kind, I am just referring this. So sum total is 100, but here also you can see that 35 is higher than 30. So this is first, this is second, this is third, and this is fourth. So this is consistent even with the previous result, but in this case we are assigning a number, not a rank directly. But out of this definitely this constant sum scale can be converted to the rank order. Coming to the Q sort scale. So, in this case what is happening, this is the comparative scale that uses the rank order procedure to sort objects based on similarity with respect to certain criteria. This method is faster and less tedious than the previous comparison because it is just to make the sorting. So, many a times if you have have seen this kind of process of evaluation, or you yourself somewhere involved in judging, say some kind of drawing competition or something. So, there are so many drawings available to you. Now, to take a call, normally we do stepwise, that first we make a filtering that okay, these are the possible drawings, probably are not of the mark, we can eliminate. So, by elimination we can also make it like small and then we can take a call, or else we can pick up which to be considered in that way and then we can make those kind of exercise. It is suitable in case of where the number of objects is not less than 60 and not more than 140, because something even beyond that range it will be difficult. So, 60 to 90 is the range. So, for example, the respondent may provided with 70 different tourist destinations. So, earlier case it was only 4. Thereafter, they can be asked to place them into 5 different categories: most preferred and least preferred at 2 extreme, and then you can say that okay, preferred, not preferred, or maybe it is something neutral, average, and then they can arrange it, they can group into all those 17 destination into those pocket. This kind of sorting provides how respondent group the variable in their mind. So, it is again an exercise making a trade off. So, should I put this location as most preferred list, or maybe it is something that least preferred list. Now, that was all about the comparative scaling. Now, we will discuss about the non-comparative scaling. So, in non-comparative scales, the respondent do not make use of any frame or reference before answering the question. So, that means it is not that I have a benchmark and compared to that I have to give a value. The resulting data is generally assumed to be interval or ratio. So, this is the difference. So, for this kind of non-comparative scale, it is mostly like rating of the data rather than ranking, and there is no reference point. So, type of non-comparative scale: continuous scale, itemized rating scale, Likert scale, semantic scale, and then staple scale. Continuous rating scale, what exactly it is? In continuous rating scale, respondents rate objects by placing a mark at the appropriate position of a continuous line that runs from one extreme of the criteria to the other. This type of scale have several limitations as well, as because the respondent may check at almost any position along the line, which may increase the difficulty to analyze and respond. So, say for example, I give that okay, you can give any number in terms of importance, and we are not defining anything what is 0, we only define the extreme value. So, this is probably the low, this is high, but in between we do not give any value. So, from low to high there is a particular transition, and in this particular case definitely we can calculate the mean and other thing. But in this case, if the question is how much you like the destination on a given scale 1 to 10, where 0 means I did not like and 10 I like, I liked it very much. So, as because there are no in between demarcation of those kind of number corresponding to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, sometimes it may be very difficult for the respondent to answer it. Now, coming to this particular case of itemized rating scale. So, in this case the respondent are provided with a scale that has a number or brief description associated with it. So, it is having certain sort of number. It is again giving you some sort of order. It is not like that you can select from 0 to 10, you assign any number. Here we are giving a particular number and each is representing certain order. The respondent is asked to choose one category that best describe the object and whatever like he or she feels about it. It is further divided into different type, as we already mentioned that itemized rating can be Likert scale, it can be semantic differential scale or the staple scale. Likert scale. A Likert scale is a widely used psychometric tool for measuring attitude, opinions and perceptions. So, for perception study we are using the Likert scale very often, and I will show you some of the examples when we discuss the case studies where how we use the Likert scale or Likert type scale, etc. It is typically consists of a series of statements expressing varying degree of agreement and disagreement, and respondent indicate their level of agreement by selecting the most appropriate value. It may be written in text or it is just the number, and the number represent the agreement. Say 1 extremely dissatisfied, 2 dissatisfied, 3 neutral, 4 satisfied, 5 extremely satisfied. So, it is 5-point scale. You can increase it to 7-point, you can have those values. Once you are very clear that okay, there is certain sort of in between value that may exist. The common format ranges strongly disagree to strongly agree with a neutral midpoint. So, in such cases it is basically a odd scale where you have a midpoint. So, 1 to 5 the midpoint is in that case 3. So, again this is something when you say 1 to 5 the numerical mathematical midpoint should be 2.5, but in this case it is not, as because it is ordinal scale. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, in that case 3 is that midpoint, not the 2.5. So, that is why out of this ordinal scale we cannot calculate those kind of mean and standard deviation. So, that is a limitation and we should understand it very clearly. Okay, so in this particular example of Likert scale, if you just look at, so this is a statement where how much agreed are you with the following statement as a tourist. Suppose as a tourist you visited some place and then I am asking this question to you, I just state certain statement. So, I felt relaxed during the trip. So, if in this particular case the respondent agreed to that. So, agree. The agreement is in this particular scale. So, in this case also we can have those value assigned, but which is only representing that particular order. I really like this particular trip and strongly agree the answer, and then I came to know new things on this particular trip. So, where probably I am not able to give answer. So, probably it is something neutral. I am not saying that I disagree, that where I have not learned anything new in this particular trip. So, like that in the agreement scale we can measure it. Moving forward to the semantic differential scale. So, this is again a rating scale with endpoint associated with bipolar level. So, two extreme. So, in this case if you see this particular case, that successful, unsuccessful, heavy, light, hot, cold, fast, slow. So, two extremes are there, and then we have a particular value, a neutral value as 0. So, in this particular case you can have any value, like in this case you have to understand how you represent it. So, in this case it is all plus and then it is minus. So, it is again a 7-point scale where you have two pole opposite to each other, and here we are defining the number. We are not really giving any kind of description in between what plus 2 represents and or. So, in such cases only thing is that it is up to the respondent to give the most preferred value which they think that okay, their response is more closer to this particular say plus or more closer to the minus. So, this they have to decide, right. So, if we just say some kind of bipolar that one thing is satisfaction and other is dissatisfaction to end. So, it is dissatisfaction and it is satisfaction. We, unlike previous case where we defined each of the agreement, in this particular case we are not giving anything. So, there is a neutral value and this is equally distributed in both the ranges. So, I can give the value anywhere which is prescribed, that suppose if it is say -3, it is -2, this is -1, this is +1, this is +2 and this is +3. So, I can select it. It can be used to find whether a respondent has a positive or negative attitude towards that object. In this scale only extreme points are named. So, that is why only extremes have name in this particular case. We are not giving any intermediate values or the names. The extreme points represent the bipolar adjectives with a central category representing the neutral position. So, as I already mentioned, in all those cases like it is strong and weak. So, this is basically the midpoint. So, when you say that it is towards like very strong, so then you intend to select this which is +3, and if you say that this is more inclined to this weak, so you select this. Only thing here in this case as well, you cannot select in between values, like we cannot select that plus 2.5, that is not the purpose. Now, the staple scale, in this case the staple scale is used to measure the direction and intensity of an attitude, and in this case definitely it is unipolar and where you do not have any such kind of neutral value. So, mostly it is the event scale. The advantage and disadvantages of this is similar to the semantic differential scale, because at the same time if I wish to have any value in between, suppose it is neither +3 neither +2, I am not very keen to give value point +3 or give value as +2, something in between, that is not possible. So, later on we will discuss it, that how we can capture those kind of ambiguity of giving answers, and then we can bring the concept of fuzzy numbers. So, here it is something not like a linguistic form, or maybe you can have a very crisp form of that. However, the staple scale tends to be easier construct and then administer, as because in this case there is no such kind of neutral value. So, you will always get some sort of answer, overall trend, because say if you have a neutral value and if you survey 100% and then all of them they are giving a neutral value. So, you are not going to get any particular direction, whether it is negatively impacting certain thing or it is positively, but in this case you will obviously get a value. But again the problem is many a times that we have to give the freedom to the respondent to select even the neutral one. Say this is something where you can say that in a particular tourist destination the hotel quality and the hotel staff behavior you want to measure. So, it has the range, and where you say that okay quality is negatively influenced and all and it is positively. So, you can always select the number out of that. So, normally it is something like this that you can use. Now, appropriate scaling technique. Now, we have discussed so many techniques, but how to decide which one to be taken into your study. So, first definitely the length of the scale point, whether you are measuring it in 3-point scale or you are going to measure it 5 points or altogether you are going for a 10-point. So, whenever you are increasing the scale and then we are giving intermediate value, then the research says that there will be some kind of impact on that. So whenever it is like within 5, so it is most convenient because people can differentiate very easily. But if it is like a higher value, then it will be difficult. I give you one example. So if you want to evaluate someone's performance out of 10, say 1 is performing very good, so in such cases you are giving say value say 8, 8.5 or 9. But when you say that the difference from like from 10 to 8.5 is just 1.5, right? The same score, if I just want to have, and I give you a particular scale like where you can mark from 0 to 100. So in this case it is 85. So for that particular case, it may be something that okay, because the student has done a mistake, but it is to be done in 1 to 10. So probably because of that mistakes, you cannot really have that much of penalty like 2 or something. So in that case, probably you can only range yourself into 8.5 or 9, etc. But for that kind of scale, you can always play that you can have those value like 87, 89, 88 like this, right? But for this particular case you normally don't give it, so it is just something like 8, 8.5, but either you give 8 and then or you give 8.5. So there that kind of range the variety of answers that you can capture when you increase. But the moment you increase that basket, it will be difficult to concise the data, if you to consolidate that information, because it's not the matter of getting data for 1 or 2%. It's a huge sample, and then for that definitely you should go for it. So for selecting odd or even number of the scale, definitely you need to understand that what is the purpose. If you want a particular decision to be made by the respondent, you can go for even scale, because in those cases one has to take a call either on their dissatisfaction or satisfaction, there is no bid value. Or else if you only want to measure in a unidirectional, that only importance and degree of importance, there is nothing called which is unimportant, or only degree of satisfaction, there is nothing called degree of dissatisfaction. So if the value increases, satisfaction increases, like that. So that you need to discuss with your supervisor. You have to also review the literature where this kind of study already been conducted. Type and number of categories, that also you need to see. Balance of scale, that already the odd even thing. Forced versus non-forced category, that definitely where somewhere you want some definite answer, you have to go for some kind of force thing, that okay, even if I am not very sure, I want to be neutral, but I have to take a call. That don't say that I'm neither in positive or negative, either you have to take negative or positive. So that way, like I force a person to take a call which is most nearest to that particular call, but definitely that is something forced. Scale description and presentation is also important. Nowadays you get a variety of those kind of measurement, where in such kind of online survey, nowadays you can get this kind of star, and after you procured or you got the service, they will ask that you fill up the star, okay, or else it is like a emoji. So from dissatisfaction to a satisfaction, or else it is something giving some sort of color. So how you plan and how you design your questionnaire, that will also play a crucial role. And then in that case you have to be careful that how it will be understood by the respondent. So it is much more important that it should be convenient and easy to read by the respondents, so that they can answer it well. So let us summarize. In this case, in this last lecture and this lecture, we discussed about the scaling technique. In this, definitely we discussed in detail about the comparative scaling and non-comparative scaling techniques and the options and their pros and cons. So selection, definitely you have to really determine that what kind of response that you expect, whether your questionnaire will be odd scale, even scale, and then what is your end purpose, like definitely out of that what kind of analysis that you are going to do. If you are going to select the ordinal scale type, definitely some of the mean standard deviation, those parametric calculations will not be logical to do. So in that case probably you can go for some sort of other rating scale where the values, the difference that is possible, so you go for an interval scale in that way. So like that, definitely those are the concept that you need to go through. And if there is any questions, then let me know, you write in the forum, we'll get back to you as soon as possible, and I'll try my level best to answer you with examples. And whenever we'll discuss in on the later stage of this particular course, the different case studies, the examples, that what type of scale was used and why it was chosen or preferred among other available measurement scale. So I'll explain that. So thank you for joining this course. Hope all this content are very much useful for your research purpose. And then definitely we'll be interacting with our upcoming topic, which is on type of surveys. So once we decide our particular scale type, measurements type, so it is also important to understand that what type of survey that is required. So we'll be discussing this part in our next two lectures, lecture 19 and lecture 20. So till then, thank you once again. We'll be meeting soon. Bye.